Hello and welcome to today's presentation. My name is Ahmeduel. I'm a final year medical student from Egypt, and today I'm going to be talking to you about mind mapping. Our first point is, what is a mind map? Simply put, a mind map is this way of turning a huge chunk of text like the one we have here, or any topic that you could think of, into this one-page graphical and visual way of presentation. In doing so, we are using a stimulating visual way to help our brain learn the information that's contained within our mind map. Again, what is a mind map? It is a powerful graphic technique that helps us unlock the potential of our brain by harnessing different skills of our brain, something called different cortical skills. How does it do that? It uses images, it uses numbers, it uses color, logic, it uses many things that our brain relies on to understand information, and it combines all these different ways into a single, uniquely powerful manner of presenting information. By doing that, it helps us use a lot of our brain power. And the thing about mind maps is that they're very versatile and they can be incorporated into any areas of your life as you see fit. Not just in learning, not just at school. Now, why do we need mind maps? Well, the thing about mind maps is that they help us increase our productivity, and by increasing our learning, by helping us think clearly, and by helping us be creative. In doing that, they help us become more successful on many levels. What's special about mind maps is that they rely mainly on your brain, and your brain has unlimited potential. There's no limit to the number of thoughts, ideas, and connections that you can put on a mind map, because there are no limits to thoughts, ideas, and connections that your brain can make. Now, as students, how do mind maps help us? The thing about mind maps is that they help us learn, understand, and memorize easier because they use all areas of our brain, as we said earlier. And this helps us through something known as association. When we associate all these different areas together to learn a single piece of information, it helps us to understand the information greatly and helps us recall it in a very short amount of time. Also, mind maps are an effective way to summarize and keep track of information, and this is especially helpful if you have to learn huge chunks or a huge amount of information in a relatively short amount of time. Of course, needless to say, mind maps save you a lot of time and space, not just on paper, but in your brain as well. And next we're going to be talking about how do we make a mind map. Now, this is very interesting. In front of us here, this is a mind map about how to make mind maps. And I find it the best way that could teach us to how to make a mind map. So let's start. As we've seen in the example at the beginning with Albert Einstein, we started with the image of Einstein in the center. Now, this is how to start a mind map. You get out your blank piece of paper and you start with the central idea. Now, you don't have to always use an image. You can use a drawing. You can draw. Say we're going to talk about computers. So we draw a computer in the center, and then we start branching from there. Next up, we are going to start branching. Now, the thing about branches, as you see here, they are colored. As you can see, we have different colors: red, blue, green, yellow, purple, and light blue. You can also notice that our branches are curvy. They're not straight branches. And why is that? Why do we use curvy branches? The thing about mind maps is we're trying to stimulate our brain as much as possible. So when we use curved branches, it helps stimulate the brain. It's sort of provoking for the brain, more than the ordinary orthodox way of using linear lines, that's kind of boring for the brain. Also, if you're going to notice, our branches, as we said, they're colored as well, also to stimulate the brain, but also more importantly, they start to get thinner as we go on, which is like the natural way of the tree branches. You see the tree when it's going to give off its first branch from the stem, it's usually going to be thick. Then it's going to be giving out smaller branches that are thinner, and so on and so forth till you get to the final branches and the leaves, which are your idea. Now for our final ideas or words. Now, as it said, it's very famous, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and it's true. So when we are using Mindmaps, not only we're going to use words on our branches, but also we want to use as many pictures as possible. This will help us retain the information, and again, it's very interesting for our brain. Now for our paper, usually we're going to turn the paper sideways as seen here. And this is also to help stimulate our brain. It gives us more space and more freedom to move about in all directions. We want to avoid using lined paper and small sheets. Usually it's recommended that we use A4 or A3 papers. A3 is actually larger than A4. And why don't we want to use lined paper? I think it's obvious by now that we are trying to avoid boring things for our brain, like straight branches, like using only black and white colors, or using lined paper, or using portrait orientation. We want to try the landscape. All of that combined is to help be more interesting for our brain, to help us retain information, to help us remember, and to help us reach a deeper level of understanding. The final point that I want to discuss is computer versus hand-drawn. Now, there are a lot of software out there that will help you draw a mind map. Now, there's no go-to way when you are trying to draw mind maps. However, if this is your first time, I recommend that you do start with drawing your own mind maps by hand over using computer software. This is to help you get creative and to practice as much as possible. Then you can try out the software and you can decide whether or not it helps you bring out your ideas better, or is the hand-drawn way your preferred way. This is a summarization of how to make a mind map. As we said before, we start in the center. This gives us the freedom to spread out in all directions, and when we branch out, we want to make our branch curved. We want the first branches to be thick and then to get thinner onwards. We should use one keyword per branch. We should avoid using many words, as this is what Mindmaps is all about. It's about using as little words as possible in favor of using numbers and using pictures and diagrams. And this is point number 3. We want to use images and pictures because your brain remembers better by association, which is the point that we have discussed before. And as we said, an image is worth 1,000 words. We will also want to use colors, again, to stimulate our brain. And we want to be creative and spontaneous because the key is about association. So basically, there are no rules. You get to be creative. You get to make your own mind maps. You get to use your own methods. And what matters is that you have fun doing it. And the more personal the mind maps are, the more time and effort you put into making them, the more easier you're going to remember the information, and the deeper your understanding of the information is going to be. Now I'm going to show you a few mind maps, and I want you to start criticizing these mind maps, to start thinking about the good points and the negative points. Now to start, here we've used a central idea, or represented by an image. Our branches are curved and are colorful. These are all good points. We've used a single word per branch. We're using colors with the branches. I love how creative it is here when they've changed the branch of the digestive system, made it look like an intestine. Also, like here, the mouth, make it look like a mouth. However, if you notice, there aren't much pictures on the terminal branches. Also for the use of color, we've repeated the colors red and light blue twice. We want to use different colors because when I remember the respiratory, I want to remember the blue color, but I don't want to remember the endocrine color as well. However, being used on different sides, if you notice, this is the endocrine is on the right side and the respiratory is on the left side. So this might be, in favor, or it might sort of make up for using the same color twice. Here we have another example of a mind map about mind mapping, or about the laws of mind mapping. This starts with central idea, as you can see, and it talks about paper. We should use landscape. We should use A3 or A4. A3 being the ideal. We should use white blank paper. Our lines should be stylish, thinner outside and thicker inside. Our words should be in big size. They should be highlighted. They should be bold. There should be one word per line. We should use images, logos, icons, and photos. We should use colors and with as much contrast as possible. The colors should also be relevant, like in the previous example, when we used the muscle and the heart, we used the red color because, it's more relevant to that. There should be some ordering if we're going to write about something that's sequential. We should give it a proper ordering. If we're going to use shapes or diagrams, they should be clear. Our positioning should also make sense. Again, to summarize final tips, we should use blank paper, use at least 3 different colors, avoid cluttering or asymmetry, review our work by stepping out, which means that once we stop the mind map, we step out to view it at a distance. Something I sometimes recommend is to view your mind map a few days, 1 or 2 days after you've made it initially. That way you can start to see things differently. If you've made something that you would like to change, you would start to notice. Also, it is helpful to brainstorm and to make a draft before you start your actual mind map. I like to get a blank piece of paper and a Sharpie or a pencil, and to make a rough draft of what I want my mind map to be like. And once again, we should revise, add more, and improve. This is especially important for big topics like we have in medical school. So you want to draw a mind map. It will be very tedious to draw it all at once. So you step outside, you draw it over a few sessions, you improve it every now and then, changing colors or adding diagrams, things like that. You should use highlighters, shapes, drawings, like stars or all the other different shapes. Remember, right brain and left brain. The thing about that, you want to utilize different aspects of your hemispheres. The left brain is usually associated with music and art, and the right brain is more about math and calculations and letters. So you want to combine those two to access all of your brain. And as I've stressed on this point way too much, which is association. So always remember that you're trying to associate different areas of your brain. And the final most important advice is that you don't be afraid to try something new. Let out your full potential and be as creative as you can be. Again, this is an example. I would like to mention a few things that I liked that are creative here. See, they use the word speed reading to represent that. They use the book on wheels, running fast, and I love that. Here they combined a mnemonic with the mind map. The mnemonic SMART is very famous. It's for goal setting, and it means that your goals should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Well, that's it for today's presentation. I want you to start making your own mind maps. Maybe make a mind map about how to mind map, or about something that has been stressing you out, a topic in school that's been difficult to study. or something simple that you already know. The point is to practice, practice, practice. That's how you're gonna make the most out of mind maps. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel for more, and you can follow me on social media. I'll put my links down in the description. And by all means, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment here or contact me on social media, and I'll be more than happy to help. That's it. See you in the next video.